Hello, and welcome to today's historic Best of 3 deck teching gameplay video, where today's topic is Rakdos Handhate. It is basically everything it says on the tin. It is a deck that hates in your hand, loves to attack and deny our opponent's resources. A very, I suppose you would call it a mid-rangey, take him out to deep water and slowly drown him kind of deck. Now, for the actual deck itself, we'll go over the we'll say the discard package. We run 3 of Kroxa Titan's Hunger. It's blue, black, and a red for a 6/6 Elder Giant that when you enter the battlefield, you have to sack it unless it was escaped. When it enters or attacks, an opponent has to discard a card. And if you discard a land card, you get bolted, more or less. And you can escape it for 2 black and 2 red and exiling 5 cards out of your yard. It's nice early on hand hate or a late game kind of big boy finisher, as well as giving you the ability to actually make some use out of your graveyard. The other bit of the real heavy discard portions are we run 2 Angrath Flame Chain. Hi, sweet baby girl. I love you. We run 2 Angrath the Flame Chain. It's 3 a black and a red for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker, where Angrath's +1 is each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life. Again, slowly chipping them out, attacking their resources, something we love to do. The down tick is that we basically we take control of an opposing creature, we untap it and it gains haste, so we can swing and hit him with it, and if it's 3 cost or less at the end of the turn, we sacrifice it. So it's a low-end removal, or if we need to, we can take some big Ulamog, Gigantosaurus kind of threat and hit you, or we can just use it to kind of ping you with a small annoying threat and get it out of the way. And the ult is each opponent loses life equal to the number of cards in their graveyard. With all of the discarding we want to make our opponents do, this ultimate, like most ultimates of ye olde Planeswalkers, should in an ideal world close out games. And the last real discard spell, 4 Thoughtseizes. Very nice hand disruption, gives you some info. We don't mind the loss of life. Basically, there's a reason why it's one of the best cards in the format. We also, the last little bit of the, or the last 2 bits of the discard package, we have 3 Waste Knots, 1 in a black for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent discards a creature, we make a 2/2 zombie. If they discard a land card, we get 2 black. If they discard a non-creature, non-land, i.e. the rest of the kinds of cards, we draw a card. It's a nice way to generate, again, additional value, drag a game out and long in a very mid-rangey, again, kind of way. And you can turn discard effects into basically a 2-for-1 more often than not. And the last bit of the hand hate, we have 2 Immersturm Skullcairn. It's a land and just taps for black. For 1 a black and 2 red, you can tap and sack it to bolt an opponent and they discard a card. The catch being you can only do it at sorcery speed. We don't really mind. It's kind of, it does a similar thing to if you're running mono red list, why you might want to run the Ramanab Ruins and the Sun Scorched Desert. It's basically damage that you can just sit on and wait to cash in until you need it. Now, with the how do I word this? With the discard package out of the way, we're going to go on to a kind of a secondary little package here, in that we have 4 Quakebringers, which is a 3 and 2 red for a 5/4 Giant Berserker. Your opponents can't gain life, which in the historic meta now, and with the historic meta being Uro free, as well as your Soul Sister variants being very popular, turning off opponents' life gain is very, very popular, or it's a very useful tool to deal with some very popular decks. Hell, even your mono brown or your mud decks happen to gain an incidentally large amount of life. So we like that ability. We But what I was getting at earlier with the giant sub theme or kind of support package is his second ability. At the beginning of your upkeep, Quakebringer deals 2 damage to each opponent. This ability can only trigger if Quakebringer himself is on the field, or if it's in your yard and we control a giant. This can be other copies of the Quakebringer. It can be 4 Bonecrusher Giants, which, besides being a good 3-drop giant that's a little sticky to remove, is also just nice to have a stomp for some removal. But also, the third bit of the giant is actually Kroxa. So it also kind of triggers, besides Kroxa's own innate ability to attack and close out games, as well as attack your resources, as well as the 3 life it does when it attacks, or the up to 3 lives of damage when it attacks, as well as a 6/6 body. If you have it on the field and Quakebringer's in your yard, you're also adding on however many Quakebringers worth of the 2 damage paying a turn. Rest of the package, pretty simple. We have 3 Bedevils, pretty good catch-all removal, 4 Soulscar Mages for a nice 1-drop that can grow a little bit bigger, and some Bloodchief's Thirst to answer either early drops if we need it, or we can pay a little more to just get a generic catch-all to most threats. We run 2 Chandra's Torch of Defiances, again as a good mid-range, kind of grinding out some value kind of card, and with an ult that, like Angrath's ult, will close out the game if given the opportunity. We also run 2 Cut to Ribbons. The cut portion, granted at sorcery speed, does kind of what you need a removal spell to do in red. It's just deal 4 damage to a creature, get a thing out of the way. But it's also nice to be able to sit on the ribbons portion of it, which is basically a black Banefire, more or less, that you can just kind of sit on and wait, much like the ability to sit on a Skullcairn and just kind of bank on the damage. And the last little, I guess I would call it a tech card, but I'm really falling in love with this card. I have 2 Relic Robbers. Relic Robber is 2 in a red for a 2/2 Goblin Rogue with haste, and when it deals combat damage to a player, that player makes an 0/1 Goblin Construct token, basically, or creature token, that says it can't block, and at the beginning of your upkeep, it deals 1 damage to you. You being your opponent in this case. Nice thing to early on apply pressure and, again, slowly start to chip them out, and again, bringing them out to deep water, making them just drown in the long term. Granted, they can destroy it, but if your opponent is wasting removal spells on the construct tokens and not one of your creatures, that's a trait you're happy to make all day long. Land base, pretty simple. Again, the 2 Skullcairns is nice little discardy damage kind of tech we just sit on. 4 Shocklands because they're useful. 3 Summits because we run a lot of basics. And we have 1 Pathway, but if you have more, don't be afraid to say, if you have more pathways than you have checklands, don't be afraid to doctor these numbers to your own collection. We run, again, a good split of mountains and swamps, leaning heavier on swamps since most of our early game cards are more black than red. And I have 1 Castle Locthwain. We do like a little bit of extra card draw, and we don't mind losing life, but any more than one castle, and you can really start to do too much damage to yourself. Sideboard, relatively simple to understand. We'll just go top to bottom. 2 Fountains of Renewal. It's a nice little catch-all removal spell, or not removal, a catch-all artifact to deal with other aggro matchups, as Rakdos doesn't have a whole lot of life gain tools besides the one we already have, which we'll get to in a moment. And if you need to cash it in later for a card draw, you can. Tuba Braids can be creature removal or the occasional pesky artifacts, both of which are pretty common, though of course the dealing 3 to a creature is more useful. We run 2 Sweltering Suns, a nice little sweeper. We don't terribly mind wiping our own board because, again, we're mid-range. We just want to like accrue value and, again, bring them out to deep water kind of thing. And if you either make a bad call or you really don't need it, you can cycle it for 3. If you have an Anger of the Gods, that's fine, but it's a little bit of a non-bow. in that we want cards in the yard to feed the Kroxa. But again, if all you have are Anger of the Gods, don't be afraid to run them. It's just a little bit of a speed bump that you have to think about. I'm running 2 Phyrexian Obliterators as a way to deal with some... Basically, it's an anti-aggro tool, kind of. It doesn't deal with, like, really wide boards like a Sweltering Sun, but like a 2 or 3 deep board with, like, a few big chunky creatures. Obliterators love to run into that shit. It'll ruin lives. We also run Ritual of Soots for much the same reason as Sweltering Suns. Of course, the Destroy All with 3 or less can get to other creatures that a Sweltering Suns might not, and even then the Sweltering Suns might hit something that a Soot might not. So we enjoy the flexibility that these 2 sweepers bring, but there are a good amount of sweepers in the format. Don't be afraid to doctor your sweepers to what your own collection is. You care more that you have sweepers that are pretty widely applicable. The particular sweepers are a little less important here. We run 3 Vraska's Contempt, a little bit of life gain that's pretty useful, and sometimes you just need to exile a big annoying creature, or little tiny pesky ones. And the last card, we run 2 Chandra Awakened Infernos, a nice big red planeswalker that can't be countered, that much like a Quakebringer does from earlier, or Kroxa's, with Chandra's uptick, even if you can only really get 1 off, you just enjoy being able to put the emblem on them, which 1 emblem's nice, 2 emblems or 3 emblems is almost certainly the game over if you can manage to sit and stall and let your opponent like slowly bleed themselves out. Of course, being able to sweep a board is a nice little extra feature. The only time you, again, besides the rare instances where you might run into Elemental Tribal, which is relatively rare, it's almost always a board wipe, or if you really, really, really need to get rid of one particular problem permanent or creature that's in the way, you can do so with the -X. The exiling clause is more relevant than people will give it credit for. But anywho, that is the deck. Pardon for my terrible rambling, but with that out of the way, we shall go ahead and head into game number 1. Alright, game number 1 with Rakdos Handhate. Of course, we'll play first. Honestly, good hand. 4 lands, 3 spells, something to do. Mulligans once. We shall see what happens. Alright, go ahead and Thoughtseize on 1. See what we're up against. Some sort of mono red. The hell's Thundering Rebuke? 4 damage to target creature or plane. Probably get rid of their Bonecrusher. Believe we're going against just a very old school little mono red list. Go ahead and play a mountain. Probably will just stomp our opponent. See what they play, if anything. That was sorcery speed, correct? Alright. We'll go ahead and play the Bonecrusher on plan. Hi, baby girls. Scared the crap out of Dad, why don't you? Jesus. What will be our opponent's play? Removes our Bonecrusher, still takes 2 damage. Can't be complaining too much. We'll go ahead and play the Skullcairn, and then we'll play a Soulscar Mage. Now we can sit on the cut, potentially remove some opponents, or whatever threat our opponent plays next. It's an Embercleave and an NX, and then 2 mystery cards, of course. Our opponent, what will he do? Slaying Fire. Alright, alright. Go ahead and play another Black Source. I think we'll go ahead and make him get rid of one of the cards in his hand. Mono red lists don't typically have the greatest degree of card draw, as we all know. Ooh, a Kargan Intimidator. Opponent plays an Anax. Oh, and alright. Well, that's actually a good play. We'll play a red. Go ahead and play Angrath. We'll actually, we don't mind losing it, so we'll take his Anax, attack him with it. Deal 3 damage, and because it has a cost of 3 or less, it sacrifices, but we actually retain a blocker. He can spend his next turn putting his Fervent Champion, making him... Never mind. Thundering Rebukes our Angrath. We'll go ahead and play another Black Source. I think we'll actually just go ahead and cut down the Fervent Champion. With the Bedevil in hand, we can damn near answer any singular threat our opponent happens to play. Maybe light up the stage would be a little rough, but not insurmountable by any means. Bonecrusher. We do not mind taking the shock for getting rid of that. Go ahead and stomp us back. We're concerned about just closing out the game now. And we'll keep the mountain in our hands. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not quite. Might be able to close out this. Never mind. That is a very particular card to use, my man. Go ahead and just build up excess lands that we can maybe dump into a ribbons later on. I would love to stop drawing those excess lands, please and thank you. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 minus 2 is 6. We're getting there. Kargan Intimidator from our opponent. But Chandra will do it. Go ahead and play the Swamp, play the Chandra, and we'll just fish for something nice and juicy, really. Yeah, uptaking it's probably the best choice here. We'll just see what we get. If it's a land, worst comes to worst, we can turn that into... Ooh, nice. We'll go ahead and stomp down their Intimidator. We could go ahead and push the lethal, but we're already in a resounding lead, so I'd rather just build on it. The game is basically ours now. We're looking to just close it out. Other than maybe some of Vraska's Contempts, I don't know if we really need to bring a whole lot more in. Ooh, that'd be nice. We're actually just going to blow our opponent out. Add 2 red.
Today's my lucky day.
It's hang on, let's tap like this. Don't know how much mana I have. 5 and 7, 12, 12, 10. Right? No, not that. Would like to hit the double 5, please. Bop, bop. Auto pay. Very nice first showing from the game. Honestly, a pretty good deck from our opponents. Maybe some Vraskas. Maybe a couple Obliterators. We can go down like probably a couple Thoughtseizes and maybe 1 Waste Not. You know, we're absolute goobers. But they're playing together, which what you want from some sisters. Probably. Well, they're losing it. Probably just go down 1 Chandra and 1 Angrath, honestly. We just need to, much like the first game, get over the initial hump, and once we have the lock-in, pretty much just don't let go. Game number 2. Opponent is on the play. Or assuming they'll take the play, but everyone takes the play because it's the right play to do. I'm not in love with the hand. The lack of black sources makes this a little awkward. But we can do something with it. Although I might eat my words. Go ahead and play a Waste Not next turn. Another mountain from our opponent. This may have been a bad decision. You never know. We'll go ahead and Bloodchief's Thirst the Steamkin. That can get really dangerous really fast. I might have made a bad keep. It's very possible. Right now, we're just attempting to somewhat course correct for this. Don't have a second black, so we'll just play a Waste Not and kind of pray. Phyrexian Obliterator is a little bit of a weird one. It can go very wrong very fast, so that might have been the wrong play. Ah, that's not good. See what our opponent has. Love to generate a block. That's not a blocker. I'll draw a card, but unless it's something real... Well, that's something, actually. Unless they just shock it. Yeah. Maybe we should just lean on more removal. Yeah, that was my fault. I made it bad. I got ballsy with the keep. God, I want Obliterator to be good. Far more than it actually is. But you know what? We'll make our bed and lie in it. Why not? Game 3. Try this again. Of course, we're on the play. No lands is not a good start. That's better. I think we actually get rid of Kroxa here. Go ahead and just play a Soul Scar on 1. Might play a Skullcairn on 2. And play the other Soul Scar. This might be a better opening hand that we were talking about earlier. A Shadow Spear. Very nice. But yeah, we'll Skullcairn, then play Soul Scar. See what our opponent does. Maybe a Fervent Champion into equipping it with a Shadow Spear. That'll do. We'll go ahead and foretell the Quakebringer. Ability to turn off the Shadow Spear is more useful than one would imagine. Much better. Sucks to shock ourselves here, but we need to get rid of the Bonecrusher. We are matching our opponent, at least on like a life-for-life basis. Land number 4 from our opponent. Slaying Fire is a choice. We don't have the second black source, so we actually can't play the Quakebringer. Or the second red source, pardon. We'll go ahead and play Kroxa. Just see what our opponent has. See what they discard. Might actually discard a land card at this rate. Yeah. I would imagine his deck can cast most spells he wants to cast. See what our opponent does. Makes another land drop. I love the Shatter Skull Charger. Man after my own heart. There's no way that doesn't suck. Nothing Not hitting a land drop will often do this. If we don't draw a land, we just immediately lose, which is unfortunate. We need like one more land to make something happen. Oh, that's fucking brutal. But it needs to... God damn. Yeah, that'll do it. That's a very good little card. Very good sideboard tech. Okay, if this works how I think it works... Hello, sweet child. Yeah, that'll be my girl. What are you doing? But if this interaction works how I think it works... If I down-tick the Angrath with the Shadow Spear equipped, I believe I get the Shadow Spear for a turn, I think. If I understand this sorcery... Equipping is a sorcery speed thing, right? Yeah, I thought so. So it does work like I thought it worked. We'll hit our opponent, getting rid of his creature because it's still a 3-drop even though he kicked it. He does regain the Shadow Spear, but that should be enough to, like, sort of, what's the word? Cut off the tide a little bit. Unless he just plays another one. At which point I think we actually just lose, which is fucking brutal. Good, Angrath healed for 1. That's fucking lovely. God, that's fucking brutal. We just play the Quakebringer and just try and present a blocker. Again, we're just looking to block something... Where we... Hang on. 6 pumps, it goes to 7. 7, 3 gets through. I go down to 5. 5, 6... 5, 1, 2, 3, 5. That's actually game. Good sequencing by our opponent. Bad sequencing from our opponent. But I think it doesn't matter still, but... I would have just kept it equipped, but that's fine. Don't gain life. I know what he meant to do, but it's still the wrong thing. Please be the thing I need you to be, Phyrexian Obliterator. Does this terribly matter? No, because I die no matter what happens anyway. But that was a very good turn from our opponent. If he literally just castles and attacks, I think we just die. Actually, if I block the Fervent Champion... Hang on, is it dealt... When a source deals damage to Phyrexian Obliterator, so the sacrifice should happen at first strike combat phase. So I think I can make this happen. I think we still die, but if he fucks this up, I might win. He might brick this because he doesn't understand the interaction if it works how I think it does. Probably doesn't. Let it be known. Because we pumps. That's it. Yeah, go ahead and pump it. Because it happens at... Please... He probably correctly sacrifices lands. Ah, damn. I was hoping he wouldn't do the... Well, that was my plan, was to hopefully make him brick and, like, sacrifice weird permanents, and maybe he, like, not thinking and would sack his attacker. That was a good game 1. I kind of bricked it on game 2 by having a questionable keep. But, man, I love Phyrexian Obliterator, even if it is not the best card for this deck. Anywho, on to game number 2. Game number 2 of Rakdos Handhate. Of course, we'll play first because we have a brain in our skull. This is actually a pretty good opener. We don't have a turn 1 play, but we have some bomb turn 3 plays. Go ahead and play the Skullcairn on turn 1, since we didn't have a turn 1 play anyway. We don't really mind taking the turn off to play a tap lane. See what our opponent does, turn 1. As we wait patiently. Plains. Soul Warden. Soul Sisters is a pretty popular thing. Again, we don't have really a play this turn, so we won't bother to shock it in. See what our opponent does. We do not mind if he plays like green-white. Alright. Because he attacked, weirdly, we'll go ahead and shock a Blood Crypt in and hit him with a Relic Robber. So he has something weird like a one of those Seal Away or whatever that card's called. He does gain the life from the generation of the construct, which is a weird kind of non-synergy I didn't think about. So there is that. Another planes from our opponent. See what he does. Probably has a removal spell. If he uses our token... I mean, that's a good play, and is arguably the correct one. So I can't terribly hold it against you. As being, like, the wrong one. I think... This is so weird. I think we're gonna just shock, or stomp, sorry, the Skyclave Apparition. Get a big old blocker. Fine, our opponent can have the one life. We're just looking to generate a blocker for this particular stage. See what our opponent does. Wait and wait and see what our opponent has. Play something. Please play something. Hey, Emiria, but he shocks it in. Oh, Collected Company. Fair. See what our opponent hits with said Collected Company. That's not good. But he can't hit non-tokens, so we got that going for us. We'll probably just Bedevil... Oh, that is the wrong move. We'll go ahead and Bedevil down the Resplendent Angel, because that thing can totally win games. If he doesn't block, it goes down to 16. I'm honestly kind of cool if he... Either way, if he takes the block, or if he just lets it through. Sitting on 2 Bedevils and a Bonecrusher, so we have things to do. I think we're gonna end up saying, the fuck is a Toadski doing here? Okay, you're just a Selesnya pile of cards. That's cool. I weirdly can't hit into that, so that's weirdly annoying. I suppose then we just build a big board to go around the aforementioned squirrel. And he has a Labyrinth of Scophos. So we can get screwy with how combat works. The hell is our opponent's deck? Some sort of Selesnya Soul Sisters kind of thing? Am I missing something here? Indestructible, can't be counterattacked. Oh, he literally has to attack. I was wondering what the deal was. Of course, you can't get card draw off of that, because that's not how that card works. Honestly, I think we just get rid of probably the Angel of Vitality. Yeah, he makes a 1/1 Spirit, and that does suck. But we are kind of lacking in the ability to remove flyers, other than like a removal spell. We don't have like other flyers to combat it. Okay, so this is like some weird Selesnya Soul Sisters-y thing that just happened to open a Toadski. I mean, that's a good one, I guess. Again, literally has to attack. Go ahead and block and sit on it. You're gonna have to start drawing a lot of fucking cards, which is brutal. Go ahead and get rid of the Angel. Yeah, I know you're gonna gain a lot of life. This is so weird. We'll go ahead and cut down the... I should have cut down the Bishop first. I actually order-lulled myself out of, like, making some shit happen. The hell do we do? We can attack. What if he... I hate that we can't attack. Okay, so this is going to be an interesting sideboard plan. What the hell do we do? I suppose suppose we can bring in some Chandra 6s. I don't know what Homeboy's deck is, but I am slowly coming around to it. Oh, God. I think that's our opponent basically having won this. Dear God, what is this guy's... I mean, cool. Can't be mad. So it's like a Soul Sisters Coco deck. Okay. He's won. He's won the first game. Fair and square. What the hell do we do against that? Is anything on that board over 3 costs besides the Toadski, which is indestructible? Not really. So maybe a couple Ritual of Soots and maybe a couple Chandras. He has a bunch of weird cards that get like buffs to their health. So we don't really want to run... Oh, there we go. Like a Angel of Vitality. So running a Sweltering Suns isn't going to do a whole lot here. Might go down to like 1 Kroxa and maybe get rid of a Thoughtseize because we kind of know what his decks want to do. As a result, we'll get rid of a Waste Knot and then maybe get rid of... What are we looking to cut here? It's a hell of a deck from our opponent. Credit given. Probably... Soulscar Mage is actually kind of bad. In this particular instance. It's a good card in a vacuum, but I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of use out of it from our opponent. I'm slowly loving our opponent's deck, though. Credit given. Okay, this is an arguably very bad hand, but it's got a Bloodchief's removal, or a Bloodchief's Thirst for removal. I just hope that we draw some red sources, otherwise we are, like, real shit out of luck. Mulligan once. See what our opponent does. Go ahead and play a Skullcairn. Pray to the heavens and Nuffle, god of the die, we draw a red source. I mean, I know we like lean early. It's not a land game. Just gonna get rid of whatever we can, whenever we can. Please, even if you just give me a swamp, give me something. So I lose because another questionable keep. I mean, I know I'm a greedy boy. Ooh. That's not a land. Please give me a land. I know I kept a greedy keep. I know it was the wrong thing to do. Oh, please disenchant that or something weird. Please. Just waste a weird removal on like a gravy piece of an ability. Hey! Ask and you shall receive. Oh, that is what I asked for. Thank you, Jesus. Honestly, we're just gonna stomp it. Gives us a creature and removes something from his board. Everything else is just extra. See what our opponent does. I mean, I would love another land, of course. But at this stage, I've got things to do, regardless of if I hit a land or not. So, I'll just take what you give me, Nuffle. Maybe I lied. Kinda lied. Increasingly lied. That is fucking brutal. Might as well attack, because there's no way he takes that block in a million years. Unless he's a madman. Just, yeah, take the 2 damage. It wasn't a second red source, because if it was, we could have down-clicked a Chandra to get rid of that Resplendent Angel. But it's gained 5 life in a turn in order to turn on the angels, so... Fucking Collected Company's brutal. Fucking shit. You gotta be shitting me. Yeah, it's like Coco Angels. I literally think I lose, actually. That's fucking brutal. Jesus fucking Christ! Kind of fucking ridiculous shit is this? What in the fuck? I literally don't have an out for this. What the actual fuck? I mean, I can play to out. Okay, let me see what the fuck I need to do here. The actual fuck, that's crazy. I have to get rid of the thing buffing his board. That's fucking ludicrous, man. That card is fucking ridiculous. like it's what the fuck ever, I guess, but like, goddamn. Again, I guess that's a nut Coco draw, I guess. Well done, opponent. Fuck me, that's a gross ass hit. God damn. That's fine. It's cool. Hi, sweetheart. Could you and your sister, like, get along, please? A fucking Thoughtseize? Are you kidding me? Yeah, credit given, opponent. I literally think we lose the game unless we draw, like, a Ritual of Soot this turn. Oh, please, I need to draw this more than you know. Yeah, and they just... Fucking green gets everything. That's not what I needed, game. You are fucking this shit up for me, gotta be honest. We're gonna go ahead and down tick it to get rid of this goddamn thing. If he blocks with a Thoughtseize, or attack means nothing. I mean, I guess. I'm a salty salmon, man. Is there anything I do that matters? Other than, like, playing to an out, I guess. See what our opponent does. Thoughtseize has to attack. We can jump block that. Another fucking... Let's get rid of this. This thing needs to die right the fuck now. Credit given, man. This is a weird deck, but it dumpstered this. Granted, I had to keep it like a weird hand. Fuck. Christ, that's ridiculous. That's really good, man. I'm salty because I'm gonna lose, and, like, I don't want to lose. But, like, other than that, it's a fucking all-star showing. Yeah, man. Good game from our opponent. God damn, that was brutal. Just block just so I can feel better. I was about to say, please don't, like, just end the game. I don't need to see him drawing more cards. My shattered psyche cannot take that. But we'll go ahead and throw up the deck really fast. For one last look, if you decide you want to play the deck yourself. It is pretty fun. There are weird matchups like this, where, like, man, you just get dumpstered sometimes. But by and large, it's a pretty good deck that can actually take a lot of wins. I gotta be honest, the Phyrexian Obliterator might not make the cut next time. But man, it's a fun card, and in my testing, I've had good results with it. So if you're going to run this deck, maybe you don't need... Let's be honest, you don't need the Phyrexian Obliterator. Is it a fun card? Yeah. Is it a good card? No, but it can really fuck up some people's days. But with that all the way, if you liked the video, like it. If you like me, sub. And if you have any sort of questions or, say, budget issues or concerns, or what should I sub X for if I don't have Y or whatever, that's what the comments are for. Just be nice and civil. Remember, I'm fooling for you. We're all in this together.